Hi, it's your anxiety therapist. So today we're going to talk about why do we have anxiety? I know it's a very common word and we are very used to it in our social culture, but I want to go a little bit into exactly what it means and how we help ourselves. So anxiety is very natural. It's our body's way to protect us. We all have anxiety to a certain extent. It becomes a more serious issue if it begins to affect the major aspects of our lives, such as school, work, friends, or family. With some skills, we can help limit the symptoms that you experience. So, how does anxiety work? When we experience an event that produces a negative feeling inside of us, our brain remembers it. Our brain is making note of things and will remind us when it detects similar feelings or situations to remind us to protect ourselves. Pay attention. This feels like something we've been through before and we need to be paying attention. The trait was important when we were protecting ourselves from bears or hunting or gathering food. Our anxiety would remind us if it was a possible bear track, or we heard some rustling in the woods, or if the berry was poisonous. All of these things reminded us to keep us safe. However, we don't need these things to remind us to keep us alive anymore. However, the arousal limbic parts of the brains don't really know the difference. They're just basically, they're called the reptilian part of the brain. They just act like animals. They don't know the difference between right or wrong. They just act. So, what does it look like in today's world if we're not worrying about bears or poison berries? It can be the threat to our self esteem, or a threat to our relationships, or the threat to our jobs or school, or our value and who we are. Do we feel stupid? Do we feel smart? Do we feel adequate? Do we feel inadequate? All of these things will then become detected as threats. So, how does the nervous system work? How does this all come into play? Our nervous systems are developed after we're born due to the care of our caretakers. More on this on the attachment video. Our nervous system is like a TV antenna. It's always recording, especially the negative things to remind us so we don't get hurt again. We have to pay attention to the positive things. This is a really good moment. I need to pay attention and record this to know that life is good. When our senses, our eyes, our ears, our smell or our taste or our touch registers that a threat's been detected, it sends the signal into the brain to send out the arousal chain of events in our bodies. So this happens in 1/50th of a second. Our body goes into the arousal mode before our processing parts of our brains even have a chance to register what's going on. Our bodies go into a fight, flight, or freeze response. This looks like maybe dilated pupils for clearer seeing when you're fighting or you're running away. Our heart races. So this also gives more oxygen into our lungs so that we can fight or run faster. Glucose to the muscles, which is sugar to help them move quickly. You ever feel like shaky, like you just want to move or throw something? That's the sugar going into our muscles. Or sweat to cool the body down. It pauses the symptoms that are not as important, such as digestion, or the analytical processing part of our brain isn't needed as much. So it kind of goes offline while we're in our arousal state. So, how do we know that we're getting into one of these states? We feel it in our bodies. Our body will start to tell us the minute that it starts to feel uncomfortable. This isn't feeling very good, and it'll warn us. If we ignore it, and this it keeps happening, then our body arousal will get higher and higher and higher and higher. So, what are the things that we can start to feel if we're being aware of our own bodies? We can feel our heart beating, or we can feel our palms getting sweaty, or ears getting hot, or stomach getting tight or achy, or even muscle tension. We can get tight and then we realize that our head hurts or our neck hurts because it's been sitting in an aroused, tense state for a while. So if we feel these things and we act like everything's fine, like, oh, it's fine, it's no big deal, our body knows it's not true and it will continue to remind you. So sometimes we'll get to the point where we just want to like shake or yell or run away or shut down and just not move. That means that your body has hit its full arousal, which means you haven't been paying attention. And now it's really letting you know that there's something that you need to pay attention to. If we don't pay attention and we pretend like we're fine, our body will make us listen. So what can we do? First of all, we have to recognize when it's happening for ourselves. What does it look like for you when you're feeling upset by something? Then we think about what's just happened. What's just occurred that makes us think that we might not be okay? When we name the emotion that's happening to us, we can honor it. When we honor it, our bodies can naturally process the emotion. If it's somebody else's emotion, our body doesn't really know what to do with it because we can't use our brains to use logic to get through it. But if it's our own emotion, then our body can naturally get through it. Okay, it's all right, I'm safe. It's not what I think it is, or it's no big deal. And then our nervous system can calm down. So when we use grounding techniques, breathing or distractions, I'll do those in another video too, then it goes back to a homeostatic, relaxed place. Once all of the systems are back into calm, which could take between 15 minutes to 30 minutes, it may take some time, then your brain can start working again in an analytical place and you can know, why was I feeling that threat? What just happened? What was the emotion? So first we have to calm down the nervous system, and then we can figure out why our brain detected that as a threat. So let's break this down. What does this look like in a real life? Okay, step one, you notice a physical arousal symptom, such as you're in the classroom and your heart starts to beat really fast and you can feel it and it's getting really rapid. Okay, something physiological is happening. What's the situation? The teacher just asked you to answer a question based on the homework. And then when you answered, said, that's almost right. Wait, what's happening? There's a threat. Okay, when we look at the feeling wheel, the limbic part of the brain will tell us that there's one of those inside big things happening. We're angry, we're disgusted, we're sad, we're fearful, we're not doing well, we're surprised, or we're happy. Then when we figure out why, we'll figure out why our body thought it needed to respond. So in this case, we can say, okay, we were worried. Okay, why were we worried? Because we felt really insecure that the rest of the class thought that we were stupid, or the teacher thought that we didn't do our homework when we did. So we got really upset thinking that everyone thinks that we're stupid or that we didn't do our homework. Okay, that's the threat. That is why our body is warning us. So this has just happened. Our heart is racing. We feel really stupid. We think everyone's paying attention to how stupid we are. The teacher is going to think you didn't do your homework. Heart's racing. Everything's getting sweaty. You're starting to feel hot. And then we breathe. And then the brain goes, okay, we're okay. And sends the calming things back down into our body to calm it down, which then puts our brain back on alert for the analytical and the processing part of the brain. And then we can think about, okay, if I think that everyone thinks I'm stupid, maybe we look around the room and no one's able to get the full answer. Maybe the question is hard and nobody really knows the answer to it. Or maybe everyone's kind of on their phone or playing their things or tapping on their pencil or saying notes to each other or whatever, and no one's paying attention anyway, so no one just saw what's happening. So what if you don't know either way? Well, if you don't know either way, don't assume. Because if you assume, then you're only creating the narrative that that's true. And you don't know if that's true. Sometimes we have to just be okay in the gray. We don't know. We'll have to get information later. If you haven't seen it and you haven't heard it, then don't make the assumption. Don't think you know what somebody else is thinking about you or somebody else is experiencing. You don't know. And our anxiety will put that narrative into the unknown space, and then it will create more anxiety. So be okay with not knowing. Okay, that felt really bad. Okay, everyone must think I'm stupid. Okay, maybe they don't. I'm not really seeing anything to prove either way. So maybe I'll have to wait till afterwards to see what happens. And maybe after class, we'll be like, oh my God, that question was so hard. I can't believe that teacher asked you that question. Then you know. So don't assume in that gray area. It's worse for our anxiety. So when we honor our bodies and we honor our feelings, then we can calm it down. We can change the wiring. I don't really need to respond. It's okay. I'm safe. Because it can rewire what it consists of, a threat or non-threat. We do that our whole lives. So the more you do that, the less the anxiety thinks that it has to arouse to keep you safe in that situation. It might take some time for it to change. Okay, this isn't really important. Okay, this is kind of more important. We're going to start focusing more on this. But when you're in your thoughts and when you're in your feelings and you just honor them and you just let them float, then you can honor it and just move through it. And then the anxiety calms down. So honor it, calm it, understand it, and then it's no longer becoming a threat to you anymore after a certain amount of time. So that is how we learn to deal with our anxiety, is what our triggers are, what our body does, and what the narratives are that we're putting in between the unknown places. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope this has been helpful. Bye.